Cody, long time no see.
How are you?
Good man, how you been,
Good.
dude? How funny is this? You've been fishing doing tournaments since January, right?
Yep.
Roughly. Yeah, I
Yep.
do my first tournament in upstate New York tomorrow.
The ice is finally thawing out, I
Yeah,
guess.
and then it was funny. I was pre-fishing yesterday, and I got caught in a blizzard.
Yeah. We actually had some snow in Arkansas just I think this week. So
Yeah,
not my way, but we did here like I don't know, probably two hours north of here.
yeah,
But
yeah.
not like you got up there.
Oh, it was bad. Like I was pre-fishing.
Yeah.
I never fished this lake before. It's about an hour and a half away, and I get out there. I just had some spots I wanted to go look at, and I got about halfway down the lake, and then the wind picked up, and then I saw like this just wall of snow coming at me. I'm like, shit. And so it became like a safety thing. Like we gotta get out of here. And so
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it took us like 30 minutes to move like a little bit over half a mile, but still it was that's how it is. It's like down
Yeah.
south things
I
start
I've only
faster, and up
seen
here.
I think I've seen a wall of snow like one time on the water, so it's not a common occurrence.
Yeah, well, it's funny. You watch it come, but you also watch the waves come with it. Like it's like a wall of just danger coming at you.
Yeah,
It
that's
was like
awesome.
I was scared for a little bit, and then the kayaks these days are built so good that
Oh yeah.
stability wasn't a problem. But in my mind, I'm just like, I got to be careful. I got to be careful. So,
A
so you've been busy. Last two
lot of
tournaments,
fishing.
a
Yep.
lot of fish in Texas, Darnell, a lot of things
Yep.
going on. But what have you been up to in general? I think the last time I talked to you was sometime right before the end of the season last year. A
Yeah.
lot of I don't know what's changed for you. I know you got a haircut. You look a lot
Right.
different. So I don't know what anything new, anything different before we really get into this.
Man, not really. Honestly, the year's kind of started off probably as busy as any of them would, I would say. So it's and I've enjoyed it. Honestly, I don't have anything going tomorrow, and I was looking. There's a local tournament like an hour and a half away, so I may end up fishing a tournament tomorrow. I'm missing it my 1 week off.
Yeah. Well, this year like it's already seemed to be because last year was really funny. Like
Yeah.
obviously the COVID thing, but and not taking anything away from anyone, but like just everything was just different. Like I was looking at the
Hmm.
the 10 this year, and I was like, God, I really don't know a lot of those people. And I was thinking about the last year. I was like, oh man, there was like the traveling restrictions and all these things. It's like things just changed, and then like all of a sudden like when Texas happened, and I saw the lineup, and I saw like who the top 10, top 15 were. I'm like, oh. There we go. We're back to normal. Everyone's going back to what they're doing, what they know best, and like it was just like it was a who's list, especially in Texas. With you,
Oh
Matthew
yeah.
Scotch, Jody Queen, Christy. Like it was just like wow, there it is. Like it's like now I'm starting to feel like things are getting back to like the way they used to be.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Like your tournament, like you said, what your first tournament's coming up here, and I know a lot of people, north of Tennessee, that's still true. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people hadn't got the hit go yet, I would say.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's been good down here so far. Yeah, I would say obviously that tournament down in the Trinity, I've been to probably, I don't know, I would say three tournaments where I would say a spawn's been that hit on the head on a really quality waters.
yeah.
But that was one of them. Yeah, I was kind of sad to miss out on some of those giants, but it was an awesome week down there in general. There was a lot of big ones caught.
Yeah, and it seemed like you guys had a really good time. It seemed like it was like a big
Hmm.
reunion of sticks getting together, eating out,
Yeah, it's pretty
and
cool.
yeah. Well, like so, was it down there in Trinity? Was it the actual spawn going on?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like honestly, kind of being a river guy, I probably messed up. Like I wasn't anywhere around where all those giant bags were being caught. I was up in some skinny water, like messing with some, 3 and 4 pounders.
Yeah,
So yeah, but no, dude, there were so many fish to be caught. Like I spent a lot of time fishing, like just in downtown metroplex of Fort Worth. It was like 30, 50 fish days, on a top water or whatever you wanted it to be on, really. So it was cool. I really hope they go down. I hope we get to go back there sometime soon. It's fun.
now was it your first time down there at Trinity?
So I lived in Fort Worth for probably about 2 years, I guess. So I
Okay.
lived like actually on the lower Trinity, I guess they would call it. I don't even really know. I lived in Arlington for a little while there. So I had fished like golf course, I fished golf course ponds off the
Yeah,
off the Trinity, but no, not really. It was the first time actually kind of getting after it out there.
yeah. I mean,
Yep.
it looked like a great time. Like everything I've seen from it, the whole Fort Worth thing was just like
Oh yeah, it was
that.
cool.
That might have been
Yeah.
one of the top events of the year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
As far as like not just the numbers, but just like the. It was just like one of those things. Like, man, I really wish I was down there for that because everyone was just
Yeah.
having a great. Like, I didn't see any sad faces or anything like
No,
that.
no. There was a lot of fish caught. A lot of fish caught every day.
Yeah. And then what was Darnell like? Did you? I mean, that's pretty close to you, right?
Yeah, it is. Like it was I think it's about, an hour and a half to, 2.5 hours away, depending on what part of the lake and or river you go to. But and, I would say it was a little different than I anticipated the whole week even going for me. I guess I've spent a lot of time in Darnell in my life, but in all honesty, like very little during the spawn, and they were spawning really big. Like I mean, I saw spawning fish in some of the oddest areas I've ever seen spawning fish in my life. It's like every spring, like I make it the point to like take a picture of like some of the weirdest places you see a fish spawning, and it was like Dardanelle was one of them, man. They were spawning in like 8-9 foot of water on pole timber that would break off like just under the surface.
No, is there like? Let me ask you
It's
for like.
pretty interesting.
Is there, yeah,
Yeah.
like, have you heard like any reason why they decide to do stuff like that? Because sometimes it happens up here too. Sometimes like with our crazy weather pattern up
Yeah.
here, I mean, because our poor fish, they don't get to spawn until May, and then sometimes
Yep.
May can be, we're going into May 1st, and we're still at water temps that are between like and we're between like 46 and 52. Like they're ready. Like I remember like last year when we were getting ready to spawn, like I feel like it was a late spawn, but it's like
Yeah.
at some point they're like, screw it, we're spawning now, and so
Yeah.
they moved up, and or some of them were spawning in deeper waters than normal, whatever. It was like they found a
Yeah.
way to make it happen.
Yeah.
Is it similar to that down there?
Not really. No, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We were talking more about the fall up north than the spring up north, but it's like, in my opinion, it's like, because I've fished a lot of, like, I love fishing northern strain largemouth way up north. I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, it really is a lot of fun. It's one of the biggest things I see is like, you read about a textbook spring or like a
Yeah,
textbook spawn, textbook fall. Dude, I find that so much more up north than I do down in the south. And I think it's because, kind of like what you were talking about, everything has to happen immediately. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like, I know one of the last times I was at La Crosse, like we were weeks away from it being frozen over. And it was probably the most like iconic fall water bite I'd ever seen because, it had to be. It's like down here, like, yeah, I mean, our fish have already been spawning for, 6 weeks now. I've probably been sight fishing or longer, I mean, going into like the second week of March, probably.
yeah.
So yeah, it's different. No, it's so much more day to day, I feel like, with down
Okay.
here. Yeah, like it's like one day you're still snapping jerk baits like on stuff, and then the conditions are right to go bed fishing all day the next day. Which it kind of makes it a little trickier almost, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And Dardanelle was a little bit that way. Like it's the same, we had like a 38-degree morning, I think, that last day, and like there were still fish that really were spawning. Like I caught a frog in the morning in like 38-degree water, not 38-degree water, but temperature wise. Water was still, in the 60s, but yeah, I mean, but at the same time, it was still like you had so much going on. Like I ended up dragging Carolina rigs and stuff, in football jigs on road beds, like all kinds of stuff. You could have done it all, but yeah, it's definitely. I think it's a lot different. I approach those northern fisheries and southern fisheries a little differently, like that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because I mean, honestly, here
Yeah,
it's like you can't really time it, but like when they're spawning because for like a week the
yeah,
bite's just really hard, and you really have to go. And it does differ from like lake to lake because we got some
yeah.
lakes that are a little bit whatever. Like I mean, it just New York's a weird state. Like one
Mm-hmm.
part of it's frozen, the other part's not frozen, and so like. But you can tell, like the bite kind of shuts off, and then you really got to go out there and maybe chase them on beds and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
it happens when like a week and a half, 2 weeks, just that spawn,
yeah,
and that's it. And like I remember living
yeah.
down in Florida,
Yeah,
they would
absolutely.
spawn for like 2-3
Oh,
months,
months. Yeah,
months.
yep,
Like they would have like the first spawn, the second spawn, whatever.
yep,
But up here, it's like they really just come down to like they got a week or two to get it done. And I think it's
yep,
because our winters last so long. It's just like, okay, we got
yep,
these eggs, we got to get rid of them.
yep.
But it's different though. I mean, like
Yeah.
we really don't think about it a lot, but like our spawn's a lot different than what goes on down in Florida and our
Mm-hmm.
pre-spawn. it's a very short, like everything for us is like a short window, and then summer happens. Like we got this
Yeah.
long winter, we got this kind of pre-spawn that happens, and then our pre-spawn, they rush into spawn because they've been waiting for so long, and then just like that, it's like a summer bite.
Yep. No, I mean, I really experienced that. I really have.
Yeah.
But no, it's weird. I mean, I don't know. I've been up there before too. Like whenever the pike starts spawning too, it's like it was so difficult to catch those spawners. I've
Dude,
noticed.
can you like I live close to a place where the pike do spawn, and you can literally
Yeah.
you can smell it when they're
Oh,
spawning.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it smells like pike.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
Yeah. But another thing was interesting, like, those fish I was talking about that were spawning like in 8, 9 foot of water. That being said, they dropped the water level 2 foot, and I saw so many eggs on the tops of trees, like during
Oh
the
wow.
actual event. Yeah, it like wasn't even funny. So it's like, those fish are probably going to pull back up and spawn again almost,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It's like those fisheries where it's like they drop the water and stuff a lot, like Tennessee River, Arkansas
Yeah.
River or something. I don't know. Maybe it's like you're not. Some days they really want to spawn, and is it actually happening? I don't know.
Right.
So
But
yeah.
I never even think about that because I don't do a lot of fishing down in those areas. Like up here, like
Mhm.
most of my lakes are natural lakes. They're the
Mhm.
glacier lakes or whatever. We don't have a lot of whatever. Like there's not a lot of level changes in the lakes that I
Yeah.
fish, and so we don't have a lot of those like those same issues. Like I honestly, when I go fishing, unless I'm fishing the river, I never worry about water levels unless there's been like a flood
Yeah.
or like a drought, which obviously it's been a drought or anything like that. But still, like we
Yeah.
never really our fish never really we don't have like those big dramatic changes like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and it makes it. I mean, I was definitely checking the water level, I don't know, every 4 or 5 hours, like even in practice, just to see. I think the most ever dropped in a day was probably like just under 2 foot, but I mean, it dropped, almost 2 foot in a day.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
does that shut them down at all? Like when you have like a dramatic
No,
change like that, and like you know what I mean? Because like I mean, I've talked to like Josh Stewart one time, and whatever happened, like he was literally fishing on a playground because the water
yeah.
levels have raised so much. He's like
I think
looking
it
down
was
there.
Table Rock.
Yeah, he was like fishing like on
Yeah.
a swing set or some shit. And I
Yeah.
mean, like when we have like big dramatic changes in like the habitat like that, like did it take long for like the fish to kind of really adapt to that, or is it just instantly? They're like, oh, we're
You
gonna go
know,
sit on this,
I don't know. I always say, like, I don't know. Like when drastic things happen or whatever, it always makes pretty good spots usually. Like, like drastic conditions usually, create really good areas or a really good spot. They're usually hard to find almost, but I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I mean, high water creates some pretty cool places. Like I remember years ago, probably, I don't know, probably 13, 14 years ago, the lake rose here, on one of our local lakes rose like 20, 30 foot or something. And
Jesus.
yeah, and we were, taking like a 30-minute idle into the back of a golf course. I mean, they were catching close to 20 pounds on a golf course. So I mean, it's just like I don't know, it creates different ways to catch them, and different ways to find them. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it difficult, especially when it happens overnight in a tournament. But I don't know. I don't mind practicing in really high water if it stays,
Right.
pretty similar, I guess.
Yeah. Well, since you were talking, you guys were seeing them spawning. Like it's always been like a because I've tried fishing beds like one time last year. Like me and my buddy, we started pre-fishing. It was a good small. Like we were finding smallmouth on beds,
Mm-hmm.
and we beat them up. But when I say beat them up, it's just like whatever. Like we found a bite. We found a winning bite. He decided to go north. I decided to stay south. He ended up winning the tournament. I ended up coming in almost last. It was a really weird situation because like the wind change. I thought I could get my fish within like the first 2-3 hours before the wind really kicked in and it kind of like it made me blind once the wind came in. And when that happened, I didn't have a plan after that. It's just like, well, shit. Now
Yeah.
what do I do?
Yeah.
But he stayed up in the north end where the wind really wasn't hitting him. But the thing is, even though he won and it was we had a 3-fish limit, he literally only caught 3 fish. So for
Yeah.
7 to 8 hours, he sit there
Yep.
and that's what he put all his eggs in one basket.
Yep.
And so like, one of the things like I hear a lot of people like like targeting fish on beds. I'm like, as a competitive angler, like it's a very to me it feels like a very risky move. Like I mean, there's big reward in it, but it's also like a lot like you could fail horribly.
Yeah.
Fishing that way. Like what do you think about like as far as the tournament? I'm talking about strictly tournament fishing, not just having fun, but like going out there and trying to win a
Yeah,
tournament.
no.
What are your thoughts on like bed fishing?
In all honesty, it plays a big part of a lot of my spring tournaments. If you know the behavior of a fish, you don't necessarily, you really don't even have to catch them in practice. You can watch one for, honestly, not even that long. And in my opinion, if you've caught enough of them, kind of have an idea if it'll be catchable. And on the other hand, though, yeah, those fish get messed with a lot, especially like down here. We're already kind of starting to get into the fry garters where that same fish has been there for like 3 or 4 weeks,
Right.
So, those fish get difficult in my opinion, but man, those fresh waves, dude, I'll spend a lot of time. I've won, really good tournaments sight fishing, but more times than not, I probably hadn't caught every fish sight fishing, but I like to know I have one or two. It kind of gives me a reason to stay in an area almost. If I know I have that close to go back to.
No, so you're saying what you're saying is that you pick them up pretty easy, right?
Not necessarily. I just think that like some people think of easy differently. It's
okay.
like I don't necessarily think it's 40 minutes as being a long time to spend for a fish.
That's where me and you differ.
I think that and that's the thing. I really don't like. That's not all that long. Like a lot of times, it'll take 15 minutes before it's settled in to really even be able to fish for it. In my opinion, yeah, I don't know.
So what do you think the approach was like? I think my problem with it is like I don't have the enough. Whatever, I'm still like the time's ticking, and you're sitting here watching this fish because the first thing that happens, you show up, and you might even spooked it a little bit, and so you start throwing your things, and it ignores it or it runs off, but comes back, all these different things. Like I don't know, I never really gotten good at it. I've caught them on beds, but it's not something I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go fish beds tomorrow to win this tournament. It's not something that I do, but what do you do? Is it something where you're like? Because Adam Rice is pretty good at sight fishing. I want to talk. I'm trying to talk to him about it, but it's 40 minutes to an hour and a half in a tournament, and other people are finding fish other places. Like, is it just something that that you can make happen? Like, what are some of the signs when to bail or when a fish doesn't want anything to do with you? How do you what are these things that you see that kind of trigger you?
The biggest rule of thumb I tell anybody is if it'll actually stay there, it's 100% catchable. Okay. I think that's the biggest basic rule you could tell anybody. Probably a lot of people honestly start changing baits too much. It's a really good thing to change baits a lot, and then whatever it kind of reacted to, just stick with it for the next 20 or 30, because it's a lot easier to just get a fish mad at one bait instead of going through a couple pockets full of it almost. That in, you said something too, especially talk about spooking them initially. One of the best things you can do is to not fish. It's probably one of the best things you can do is actually being comfortable with you still being there, and it knowing where it wants to be at that time too. It's hard to catch them when they're not on the bed. It's pretty much impossible in my opinion. So unless you can get it comfortable with you being there and staying on the bed, it is really all but impossible.
Yeah. Now, what do you think is what are some of the baits? What are your go-to baits for bed fishing? Is it treble hooks you got to be careful with, right? Because of snagging and things like that. I was really successful. I would take a shaky head and I'd cut the bait in half, make it really, really small. And I had a lot of success with that. But I was also shooting for smallmouth, and they get angry really quick.
They do, yeah.
And then with largemouth, the largemouth will kind of pick it up and get rid of it. But a smallmouth will they're pissed off. And, it's different.
Yeah, honestly, throwing Ned rigs for smallmouth on beds is pretty hard to beat, and it's pretty hard to beat for largemouth too. In all honesty,
I know it's a big risk reward. Like I said, my friend up north won it, and I pretty much came in last place. Trying to do the same thing.
Yeah,
it's a difficult thing to I think commit to, because at the same time if you're looking at, because not all fish spawn at the same time. So if I'm looking at a fish that's spawning, I know there's a lot more fish behind me as well. You know what I mean? It's
yeah. No, and that's the thing. It's honestly, wacky rigging and frogging just while you're waiting for it to be comfortable. You can kind of do a lot of that too. I'll mix that in some.
Okay.
But
I don't know. I'd love to really break it down, because I think spawning fish, you can catch the biggest fish of your life fishing like that.
Oh
At the same time, let me ask you, what about because one of the things that I've learned is like just because a fish looks big on the spawning, when they're spawning, doesn't mean it's a big fish. And that was one of the things that like
Yeah.
you got to be careful. You know what I mean? Because like you're sitting here, you're spending an hour, 2 hours trying to catch this fish, and it ends up being like a 16, 17-inch fish. Is that worth? Is that worth an hour and a half of your time when you're in the tournament? Is it one of those things where you look at a fish, like if you're gonna go bed fishing or sight fishing, you kind of want it's like hunting almost, and you see a bunch of deer coming, it's like I'm gonna wait, and then you see the big one, like that's the one I want. I'm not shooting, you know what I mean? It's like is that kind of a strategy that you guys kind of?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember I was on Lake Fork. I like the same tournament I won, last year solely sight fishing. Like I was on that same tournament, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was sight fishing for like a 15, 16-inch fish, and just to like fill a limit. And I was like, hey, this is like, not even fair compared to last year.
Right.
Yeah. So no, yeah, it was difficult. Like somebody around me was just like, man, calm down. It's like 9:30. It'll be all right. So yeah, it's hard to do that. I mean, but at the same time, you kind of know what kind of angler you are. And if you need a few of those fish to calm you down, it's probably a good thing to pick a few of them off.
Right.
If you can. But I don't know. Yeah, I would say, dude, basic rule of thumb, if that thing will hang around long enough, for you to actually keep baits and stuff in there, the fish is catchable.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
So let me feel like to kind of understand this, because like a lot of the fish that I saw and the ones that I got frustrated with is like I would throw it. It might come investigate a little bit, but then it does like this really long swim around, and it would do it like a routine almost. If I watched it stayed really close. But if I threw something down, it did like a longer loop, and then came back. And then if I was still there, it would do another long loop, and then come back. But that was like the frustrating thing, because lots of I didn't even know if it was going to come back. You know what I mean? They always do, but at the same time, it's just like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, one thing. I mean, a lot of times, especially those big females, they'll have like a secondary safe spot that's not necessarily on the bed. And I've kind of learned, if the fish really wants to be on the bed and you block that like secondary area, like you said, she kind of had like a route she liked to do every time.
Right.
I've kind of learned, if you block that route or like block that area she likes to go to secondary, like kind of, it'll make her sometimes lock on more. Or leave completely.
How did you learn that? Like, how did you learn that? Because I've never heard anyone say that before. Like
watching
blocking
fish a lot. Yeah,
watching them a lot.
Yeah. I used to play golf a lot, and there's a lot of big fish on golf. So like golf courses. So you get to like go hit your ball next to the golf course and watch a bunch of spawning females do some stuff. But yeah, no, I love, like, it's one of my favorite times of the year is to actually watch fish spawning.
Yeah. Now, have you ever like tried to spawning fish like blindly? I know some people will do that. What are some of the things I wouldn't even know how to do that. Like, it's fun. I mean, like, I obviously look for places that look like they want to spawn, but like, what do you? I mean, like, that's one of those things where you're throwing a swim bait type thing, and I mean,
in my opinion, I feel like that some of the only times you can't see beds is when it's actually really, really dirty. And usually when that's the case, they're usually spawning so tight the cover that you can fish the cover really tight. That's what I've always found.
Okay, so it's. I mean, if you can figure out where it's at, like, they're probably going to bite because they're not moving very much.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the only other extreme would be like really, really clear water where you could sit back and wacky worm or something. But yeah, that'd pretty much be it. It's like, usually if I can't see them spawning, they're usually either shallower than I think they are, or they're really stuck to spawning on wood or something.
Right. All right, cool, man. I wasn't even planning on talking about that tonight, but it just, I don't know. Somehow we got on that, but what else, like, dude, like, have you made any changes to your rig? I mean, I was looking at some of your pictures, and it looks like you've kind of lightened things up just a little bit compared to what you had on last year. And I was curious, like, what changes you made, because it's a big thing that like I've been looking at this year. Like, I mean, some people are putting more screens on their boat. And I think you did that last year. I think you were the first person. Oh shit. All right, well, we lost Cody for a second. All right, well, cheers. All right. Sorry about this, guys. I think Cody fell off the planet.
Can you hear me?
You fell off the planet. Yeah, you fell off the planet, bro.
Phone died.
No worries. No, but I was saying, like, I remember last year you were one of the first people I saw that was putting like a dual screen on there, and
Yeah.
I was looking at your whatever. I can't remember how I saw your rig. It looked it was a little bit lighter, and a lot of people are doing different things, and things are getting crazy. Like, what changes have you made this year?
Man, honestly, I don't think I've ran a transducer. I don't think I've ran a transducer since Florida. I guess I ran one in South Carolina some. Yeah, I haven't ran a transducer in close to 4 weeks, I guess. I mean that that being said, like I fished out of three or four different boats. I think I fished out of a Hobie Outback at Broken Bow, and did pretty good there. And I fished out of Frontier in South Carolina, and that did really good in that too. But yeah, I fished out of a Pro Angler the last 2 weeks, I guess.
Okay.
But so yeah, I've kind of been switching it up a little bit. Yeah, I've ran a GPS, but I haven't actually had a transducer on at all.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
because this is what this is thing. I'm bringing someone else, and we're really getting depth in it. But we'll talk about this a little bit. Like how like simplicity is like. I think it's like something that I'm learning to like. Kind of like all right, like you're trying too much, you're doing too much, because like I'm listening to some of the best anglers in our little sport, whatever, you and Ryan Lambert, and especially like Adam Rise, like I hear what you guys got to say, and it's like he took 4 rods out, didn't have a fish finder, and damn near won the tournament. You know what I mean? It's just like these things. Yeah. It's like I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. I'm going to drive 2 hours to my tournament. I'm going to put all 8 rods up, all my gear. I'm going to put up my, my fish finder with down view, side view, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to go out there and try to fish and win a tournament. And then, I see, you haven't used a transducer in 4 weeks. Yeah. It's like, what do you think about all this? I mean, like, you think sometimes it's like we got more than what we need, but it's also good to have it when we need it. So, like, how do you look at like all the different things that are going on with how we're setting our kayaks these days, with like, the multiple monitors, the different motor systems that we got going on now? Like, how do you view all of it now that you've kind of like played around with it?
Man, I think it's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. I think my answer to that's a lot about my same answer to a lot of fishing questions is I just don't think you can be in between on either. You can't be in between on them. It's just like such a sport of extremes. Like I feel like you either almost need to be running 360 with a live scope to see what is following that patch of bait you see, or you're almost better off just kind of knowing there's a lay down there and fishing it without making a sound the entire time. That's the way I look at it, in all honesty. About that stuff.
Honestly, I mean, that's probably one of the best answers I've gotten, because because one of the lakes I fished last year was Lake George, which Lake George is like a kind of it's a deeper lake. It's got a lot of deep. It's a really good place to offshore fish. It's got a few creeks, but nothing like you guys got down south and things like that. And so, last year it was like August, and we were all struggling, and the guys who won it, day 1 and day 2 both had the Panoptics and those sites. And it's just like, and they caught everything off drop shots and things like that. And it's like it was a hard bite for everyone else, but those guys were the ones that figured it out. And not only did they have that, they also had Spot Lock, or they had the motor guide. It's just like at some point, it's like people can say what they want to say. That these things don't make a difference. I'm like, no, they absolutely do make a difference when the time's right. I'm not saying that's
that's the thing. Yeah, and I mean, I think kayaks are a lot the same way. I mean, like I still there's not the perfect kayak for any one person or any one river, system, anything. Yeah, and I mean that I don't know. We've had I know Broken Bow the Broken Bow on Hobie was one where I know Panoptics played a pretty big role for some people. But at the same time, I mean, it wasn't one, doing that. And there's a lot of people that were just blind cranking the bank too.
Right.
So yeah, no, I don't know. I really think you're going to see some anglers that really are really good at doing it. I mean, and that's the thing. I know a lot of people that have it that don't necessarily even love it, or
Right.
haven't maybe spent enough time to doing it to know how to get those fish to react, to
Right.
when they are following and stuff. So I don't know. It's still fishing. I mean, it might make you stay somewhere a little longer, or not go
Right.
somewhere. But yeah, it's still fishing. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of chose to take the back seat on it a little bit this year, but part of that's just kind of the time of the year too. I mean,
Right.
your eyes are your best live scope, in 64 or 65-degree water for the most part. But yeah, I'm interested to see how big a role it plays, in that post spawn bite.
Right.
Especially like down south. Like we haven't really seen a lot of guys having in the kayak world for that deeper ledge bite when, there's still guys kind of getting it done shallow. So
Right.
I'm interested to see how it does during that time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point because, like, I mean, during like the pre-spawn, the spawn, like we kind of got an idea where they're at, like they're
Yeah.
where they want to go, and what routes they want to take to get there. I think, yeah, that's a really good point. Like, when shit starts getting hard, that's when you kind of need that extra help. When you start getting to like the dog days of summer,
Yep.
the fish are deep or they're extremely, whatever, they're hiding under mats and stuff like that, and so to go out there and get an offshore bite to get the winning fish.
Yep.
I'm not saying you have to have it, but I know that there's people out there who aren't complaining that they have it.
Oh,
What
yeah.
I mean? It's actually a really good point. I think what's going to come down to is like it just depends on the time of like, they're tools and knowing when to utilize a tool. What I like about you guys is like you guys know when not to even bother putting it on. Like I'm one of those guys. If I have it, it's got to go in my boat. You know what I mean? If I got like,
Right.
like every time I go out, it's like I'm going out for like the worst firefight of my life. You know what I mean? I got a tank. I got nukes, whatever I need to win this firefight. And I watch you guys. It's like he takes 2 fishing poles and no fish finder and hasn't put a transducer in 4 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is like a minimum that you like to take out right now, like especially during this time of year? Like what are some like so one of the things that I started doing, so I thought, I'll take a lot of stuff out when I go pre-fishing. And now it's like, okay, if I didn't use this stuff in pre-fishing, I probably don't need to now. It's one of the things I've been trying to do because like I said, I take in the past, I take everything out with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I take the whole armory. I'm like, one and try to figure out what I'm gonna do. But this year I'm like, like this lake, I'm like, all right, I'm probably gonna fish here. I might end up doing this, so I might take a few extra things, but I really downsize really what I'm gonna take. Like, how do you approach it?
Pretty much that way. I mean, I usually practice with a lot of rods, like maybe to even 10 or 12 rods. But yeah, I mean, if I can take 7 or so out on tournament day, like that's definitely what I want to do. Sometimes, I mean, if you can get it the less, it's good. I don't know. I mean, I take more than I probably should. You can definitely get by with taking, 4 or 5 rods.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all you ever end up using anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I find out. Like, I'm usually like, if I'm gonna fish the grass, I'm probably gonna fish the grass all day. Like, I'm not really gonna move from the grass. That's one of those things I feel like if I commit to it, like, don't leave. You know what I mean? Like, they're there. You just gotta figure it out. And so it's like, 4 rods, and I can get the job done. I don't know why I need, sometimes like I've gone out there with like 12 rods before. And I'm like, why did it gets ridiculous sometimes. And then like, and the same thing with my fish finder and everything else. It's like I'm not even using this thing at this time. You know what I mean? Like it serves me no purpose. Like is there a minimum that you think that you have to have that makes you like, I guess, like a comfort, like a comfort thing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, if it is a tournament and I know I really am just going to frog and flip all day, yeah, I mean, just like a pack of, a pack of creature baits and a couple frogs or something, which it's nice to do that because like you can get the things faster. There's not as many things in the boat, like all that stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't like feeling not comfortable, I guess. So yeah,
right.
It's hard. Especially the last year, I took a lot last year. I've definitely been taking a lot less this year. I don't know. And like I said, this time of year, it's a little more simple down here. I mean, you have a wacky worm with some, top water and something to sight fish with. It's pretty, it can be pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, this year being like I feel like it's a makeup year for a lot of people because, like I said, like it was just crazy last year, like the traveling and like what I also felt like for me at least is like, how much effort did I really want to put into things? Because there really wasn't any guarantees for anything and traveling with it. And so it's like, this year seems to be doing better for everyone. Like you're starting to see a lot more of those those names that are usually at the top. You're starting to see a lot more of them back in the top. You know, what's different for you this year? Like, what do you want to do? You know, as far as like, what does Cody want to do this year? I mean, it's still,
Yeah,
you still got a lot of season left.
I really just wanted to fish a lot more consistently this year. You know, I feel like just kind of between maybe swinging too big at some events and, you know, malfunctions in between or whatnot. Like, I don't know. It was just like as many tournaments as I won last year. It was without a doubt like my worst year in a lot of
Good. I'm glad you
aspects.
said that because I didn't want to say that. It's still weird when you're having a conversation with someone. I don't want to be like, dude, your year wasn't as good as the year before. And that's kind of what I saw. Like you, Matthew Scotch, some of the other guys just didn't have the same year you guys did before. Like, I mean, none of you guys made it back to the 10. Like the 10 was like, there's only like 3 guys I knew who were in the 10 last year. So not to say those guys, they all deserve to be there, but at the same time, it's like, what happened to those names, you know? And so it's good to see you guys back at it. But yeah, you're right. It's like, you know, like you guys are really starting to show up this year.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I felt pressed to kind of like almost try to win tournaments last year. I mean, I think Russ won like 6, 7 tournaments last year. And it was like, I don't know if you didn't blow them out of the water, you know, it was like hard to even do all that well. So it was like, I don't know, it changed my philosophy in a lot of tournaments. Probably especially some of those Hobies. Like I definitely like felt restricted in, you know, some of the fish I needed to target and had to target. But no, yeah, this year, man, I've caught a lot of fish on a spinning reel already this year. And I don't know how many fish I caught on a spinning reel at all last year. So I've just been like really focused on catching a limit and kind of rolling from there.
Yeah, that's really funny because that was like last year. I remember me and you having a conversation like early last year saying like catching winning fish.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think now? Like, you know, like trying to do that. It's like, it's almost better. It's like to get a limit and then try to improve the limit. And then, you know, cause like I mean, I don't know what the right answer is. I haven't won those big events, but like, what do you think now after like, you know, trying last year, like always trying to win the event instead of trying to, I guess, be more consistent, I guess is like the kind of, you know?
Man, it totally depends on the tournament for one, but there's some guys like you, I mean, you mentioned Matthew Scotch. Like, I mean, I was right next to him when he won that tournament on the Trinity, and like, you know, between what I was doing in the morning and what he was doing, I mean, he was just like trying to catch giants. And, you know, his first like 2-3 bites were 5-6 pounders, you know, and I was like flipping in 2.5 pounders or whatever. And it was like, and that's a philosophy he's always had. Like, you know, that first hour, he just wants to get one big one, whereas a lot of guys want to catch 5 of them and, you know, go from there.
Right.
And part of that's the individual. And I mean, obviously part of that's even the event that you're at, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've always been a guy that does a lot better with having a limit and kind of just expanding from there. But not everyone's that way. Like some people are, you know, cool and calm enough that, you know, they can just kind of catch them throughout the day.
Well, I guess it kind of depends on like what your goal is. You know what I mean? Because you look at someone like Derek Brundle, he's made it to every single big event for like the last. Well, not every. Like, he doesn't do the TOC or anything like that. But like he's made it back to the 10. But he's never actually won. An event, but he's consistent. And I guess it depends on what your goals are. It's like when you think about like a sport like this, it's like it's first place is big. It's as important as making it to a place where you can like really. It's weird, right? I mean, it's
hard to say. I mean, because I mean, I was the same way. I mean, I think until last year, you know, I mean, I don't think I had won a KBF even. You know, I mean, I know I had won some tournaments, maybe won the 10 or won some other stuff. But yeah, I just really finished really consistently. And like last year was the first year where it was like hero or zero, you know,
right?
Which is weird, you know. So I don't know. I like being on the, you know, more of the Derek side of it, man. It definitely. I have a lot more respect for guys like that in the long run.
Yeah, but I think it like because I don't know what the ultimate goal is because I'm not there yet. You know, I'm not. You know, I still got a lot of progress I got to do, but I don't know what like. You know, I was actually talking to a boat angler on the big side. He's an up and comer guy. And I was trying to tell him like, you know, what's more important, like winning a tournament or being able to do this like consistently, you know, throughout the years. I mean, win one here, win one there, make it to the big events and things like that. Like, what's more important when you think about like a sport like this? Because you can win one tournament.
Yep.
But you don't place in like the you know a good spot, whatever you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like so it's like what is really important, and like you know Derek Brundle, he's always at the top of things, and you know but like so what if you win a first place here, but you're not consistent throughout the rest of the year, and you're not up for angler, you're runner for angler of the year, and you're not whatever. Like, I mean, this like to me, this seems like a sport. It's more of like a marathon than it is a sprint.
No, I mean,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
always being in the mix is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. Like, so what boat are you officially? Are you still a new canoe guy?
I'm still fishing out of a new canoe in like most all the motor tournaments. There might be a couple that I don't, but most all of them I'll use probably either the Frontier or the Pursuit.
So what do you do with the Hobie events? Like, are you playing around with the Hobies and stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually have a PA-12, like an old PA-12.
Your boat before you went new canoe?
Yeah, it's an old it's a yellow one I got from a buddy, but it actually already has like a Motor Guide XI3 mount and stuff on it, so it's pretty easy to just pull them from one to the other.
No. Okay, cool. So you're still representing new canoe. That's still a great, like, I mean, obviously I'm more of an Old Town guy, but like the new canoe, as far as like the ability to like customize it, like that's like you could do whatever you want with a new canoe.
Yeah, dude, they track so much better with that XI3 than any of the other boats I've been into. Like, as I love that Motor Guide. I mean, it's decent on the Hobie, but it's nothing like the new canoe as far as like how it tracks and stuff.
Right. Well, just one thing about the motor, and then I promise to let you go soon. Obviously, I got to get ready to go to a tournament tomorrow. But the motor, like, what has been like, besides like point A to point B, like, what do you really care about the motor for? I know you do a lot of shallow fishing. I know you do a lot of power fishing. So like I know, like, someone like Derek Brundle, the motor makes a lot of sense to me, because he likes to go offshore. He likes to sit on those things and wear them out. I know you and a lot of those guys down there. You guys love to fish like skinny water. And things like that. Like, what has been like the benefit of having one of those? And like, a lot of times you even take it out, because, like I said, I know, like, you guys are pretty simple. I mean,
honestly, probably just being able to use my eyes shallow and always stand up. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things. It is like, from about a month and a half ago till, a little while from now, like it's so beneficial sight fishing. Like, you don't realize what you're missing sitting down all the time.
Right. Well, like, one of the things I thought, because, I like the crankbait a lot, but a lot of times I don't crankbait anymore because it's hard to maintain position and sit there and fish the point.
The same way. Yeah.
So like,
the same way.
Like, I don't. Like, I'm doing more Hobie events this year, so I kind of like didn't get a motor this year. But at the same time, I'm like, I really wish I had the ability to sit and, whether I found a current or whatever it is, I could sit there and really fish that spot instead of, especially this time of year. This time of year, the wind, like I said, we got more of those natural lakes and deeper waters. Dude, when that wind blows, like, you're moving. Like, it's like being on a river sometimes. And so it's like, not being able to sit in that spot or constantly having to find my way back to that spot has been like a real challenge, especially since I've kind of moved offshore a little bit this year as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll wrap this thing up, dude. I gotta get ready for a tournament tomorrow. But what's new with you, or what's coming up? Who do you want to thank? What's making fishing easier for you? Shit like that.
Man, Fish USA, Dakota Lithium, Catch Outdoors. I mean, they've been helping me a lot this year. I mean, you said, new canoe and casting rods. And Motor Guide,
Everyone's talking about cash and rods these days, man.
Yeah, right. It's like those icons are like the new talk.
Yeah, I looked at a few of them. Like, I was looking for a frog rod, like a Pacific frog rod, and I almost pulled the trigger on one, man. Almost.
Yeah, hey, John Cruz like signature series one's pretty good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, well, cool, man. It was good to talk to you, Cody. Like I said, it was good to catch up with you. I hadn't talked to you since last season sometime, but good luck, man. I'll also talk to you sometime later this year, but dude, keep getting after it, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Good luck to you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, man.